We like to think scientists have pretty much figured out how our world works. We understand how everything from plate tectonics to the ocean currents work, and have even begun to explore other planets via unmanned space probes. However, this isn't always the case. Sometimes we stumble across things that don't fit anything else seen on Earth, and no matter how much we scratch our heads about it, our best minds are yet to figure out what causes them or why they exist. These are 5 unexplained anomalies from around the world. Number 5. The Eye of the Sahara, or the Ruts structure, is a 25-mile-wide geological structure that has defied explanation since it was discovered by NASA in 1965. Despite its immense size, the structure is hard to make out from the ground, and combined with its location in the Western Sahara Desert, it went unnoticed by humans until we sent men into space. Early astronauts were asked by NASA to look for any circular patterns on the Earth, as these are telltale signs of ancient meteorite craters that have since been eroded or covered by flora. The Ruts structure was one such phenomena pointed out by astronauts. For a long time, scientists believed the bullseye pattern was created by an ancient meteorite collision. However, after analysis of the rocks in and around the bullseye pattern, it was discovered there wasn't enough melted rock at the site for it to possibly be an impact crater. Researchers concluded that it must have been created by something happening below the crust, though what exactly isn't 100% agreed upon. The best theory scientists have so far is that the eye was created by the breaking up of Pangaea some 100 million years ago. It's believed that when Africa and South America began to drift apart, an intrusion of magma beneath the Earth's crust began to push up in the Western Sahara. It created a pimple-like structure that erupted not long after, collapsing the dome. Millions of years of erosion wore the structure down until only the hardest rocks remained. While this theory does explain the strange concentric circles found at the site, there are still unanswered questions that have left scientists scratching their heads. The dome theory doesn't properly explain why the eye is so symmetrical, or why similar structures aren't more common around the world. Another, possibly less likely theory is that the structure was once home to the ancient civilization of Atlantis. While most Atlantis theorists suggest underwater sites, the Ruts structure has one thing the underwater cities don't. In his work, Plato clearly described the city as having concentric circles of water and land. Of course, though some prehistoric tools have been found near the area, it's unlikely this was really the mythical Atlantis. However, if this kind of structure occurred in the Sahara, it's possible another may have been created near the geographical fault lines and played host to an ancient civilization. Number 4. The Mediterranean island of Malta is a treasure trove for archaeologists, preserving countless structures and artifacts from the Bronze Age and even earlier. Looking back to an ancient time, the meanings behind many of these structures modern experts have found in Malta have been lost over the years, and even the eventual outcome of the people who built the ancient temples remains a mystery. One of the less well-known mysteries from the island nation surround the cart ruts of Malta. These channels in the stone crisscross Malta, sometimes leading to lonely headlands or even into the sea. The name comes from the fact that they usually come in pairs and run parallel to one another, resembling the ruts left by carts traveling the same journey over a long period of time. However, most believe it's unlikely some kind of cart, or sleigh, is responsible for the grooves. Many of the grooves are around 70 centimeters deep, meaning that any vehicle would need an axle much higher than what is common, and tracks change dimensions along their length. Even if it were possible this was due to natural erosion of shallow, uniform tracks, the locations they lead to make little sense, and many parallel lines bend and merge into one track at various points, impossible for any sort of vehicle at the time. Many other explanations have been proposed and disproven over the decades that scientists have been studying the structures. Everything from irrigation to a form of calendar have been suggested, but each suggestion leaves more questions than answers. It doesn't help matters that we're yet to figure out who exactly made the Ruts, or even when they were created. Most suspect that the Ruts in some way are linked to the ancient temple builders that mysteriously disappeared around 4,500 years ago. Despite the fact many were nowhere near these temples, it's possible they were used for transportation in some way, or as part of the agriculture on the largely soilless land. However, it's also possible that the Ruts are much older than that, dating back into Malta's prehistory, or more recent and built by the Romans that later had a presence on the island. Of course, one explanation is that it's possible but unlikely the channels were created by an alien spacecraft landing on or taking off from the island. Number 3. The Earth's magnetic field does more than steer compasses toward north and help birds migrate every year. It plays an important role in protecting our planet from harmful radiation from outer space and harsh solar winds. Therefore, the fact that there's a weak spot in our field is cause for concern. The South Atlantic Anomaly is an area where the Van Allen radiation belt is just 200 kilometers above sea level. It stretches from western South America across the Atlantic and into southern Africa. At the moment, the anomaly isn't too much of an issue. Satellites in low Earth orbit, such as the Hubble Space Telescope, regularly pass through it. However, it can cause some electronic disturbances and prematurely age computers. One of the most puzzling mysteries surrounding the South Atlantic Anomaly is why it exists. Scientists are fairly certain our magnetic field is caused by currents of molten rock in the Earth's core. However, there's no explanation as to why the Earth wouldn't be at the center of the field, unless there's more going on beneath the crust than we currently understand. Clues to the anomaly's origin may become clearer when scientists crack the next mystery it has to offer. The anomaly appears to be getting weaker, with the belt of radiation slowly getting closer to the Earth's surface, and has even shown signs it may be splitting into two separate zones. Again, the why is unclear, but it doesn't seem to be anything new. Scientists can use ancient magnetic rocks to read the changes in the Earth's magnetic field through millions of years. They found the South Atlantic Anomaly isn't a fluke occurrence, and such anomalies have occurred throughout history. Scientists have deduced the anomaly may be in some way linked to a reservoir of high-density rock in the Earth's mantle, which lies almost 3,000 kilometers below the African continent. However, the reservoir isn't the only one on Earth, and a similar reservoir exists beneath the Pacific Ocean, but no corresponding dip in the magnetic field is found there. While changes in the magnetic field have been common throughout history, there's a great importance in being able to predict these changes in the future, as most of our modern technology relies on satellites that would be greatly affected by significant movements in the radiation belt that surrounds our planet. Number 2. A mysterious structure twice the size of Stonehenge lies beneath the Sea of Galilee. Only discovered in 2003, the apparently man-made structure is believed to be somewhere between 2,000 and 12,000 years old and is around 10 meters tall. Researchers stumbled across the mound while surveying the lake bed. They expected to find a relatively smooth surface, but instead found a cone-shaped structure made of basalt rock. Unlike other underwater anomalies, such as the Millennium Falcon-shaped structure in the Baltic Sea, there's no debate as to whether or not the Sea of Galilee structure is man-made. The nearest basalt outcrop is a few hundred meters from the site, so it's extremely unlikely to have occurred naturally. The bricks used to build the structure weighed more than 200 pounds, and experts believe the structure was of some importance to whoever built it. Experts believe it was likely built on land as a religious structure or houses remains of an important person in some ancient community. Seismic activity in the area is known to have submerged a nearby ancient settlement and brought it back onto dry lands thousands of years later, so it's possible a similar process happened here. However, other suggestions include it being built underwater to form a fish nursery. It wouldn't be the first such nursery found in the lake, though nurseries that were already found are significantly smaller than this mysterious mound. The stones are tightly wedged together with sediment, meaning drones are unable to get inside the structure to investigate further, and the murky waters of the sea make it difficult for divers to explore the structure. Only by excavating it and bringing it onto land would we be able to understand who created the structure and why. However, local authorities are reluctant to allow researchers to interfere with the lake. Number 1. At the bottom of the world and covered in ice, Antarctica remained undiscovered by humans until 1820. It's unsurprising then that there are still countless mysteries and conspiracy theories surrounding the continent of ice. One such mystery is the unexplained mass buried beneath the East Antarctic ice sheet, but this may recently have been solved. In the 1950s and 60s, scientists observed a gravitational anomaly between the Wilkes-Land ice sheet. Seismic waves from earthquakes weren't acting the way they were supposed to, and they discovered the crust here was much thinner than elsewhere. One possibility was that the crust thinned when Australia broke away from Antarctica, but no crust thinning can be found in Australia. It wasn't until 2006 that we got an answer. Researchers from The Ohio State University used NASA's Gravitational Recovery and Climate Experiment satellite to look beneath the ice and found a 200-mile-wide plug of mantle material known as mascon. Mascons are pretty common on the moon. They're formed when large objects collide with the moon. The object's mass creates a gravitational pull that pulls mantle material into the moon's crust. However, they're much less common on Earth because our planet is geologically active. Scientists compared the location of the strange mass with radar images that reveal the land beneath the ice. They discovered the mass lay perfectly in the middle of a 300-mile-wide crater. They suspect the mass was formed by a huge asteroid collision, bigger than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, relatively recently in Earth's past. Because the mascon is still present, the collision happened less than 500 million years ago. Researchers suspect it may have even been the cause of the PT extinction event, otherwise known as the mass dying, that killed 95% of marine species and 70% of all terrestrial animals on Earth. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.